What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with my co-host.
It's your boy Mod.
And today we're just going to do a little 2023 wrap-up episode.
Yeah.
We've only been doing the podcast, really technically, the first day it came out was basically August 29th. That was the day you started school, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So we're just going to do a quick little wrap-up. First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody that's came on the show, supported the show in any which way.
Yes. Been a lot of gracious people with their time come on, talk about their projects, and make time for us to talk about, what they're doing. So it's been cool.
Yeah.
Met some new people.
Yeah, met some new cool bands. A lot of cool support from people this year too, as far as like,
What we're doing.
Yep, commenting on our reels and commenting on our YouTube. Our YouTube's kind of going up pretty quick, as far as being a new channel. So it seems like you guys are liking the content. As always, we're open to feedback as well. Like if there's something that you guys want to hear or something that we can change to make better, we're an open book. I feel that way. Don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening. I'm reading the feedback, and I take constructive criticism either out in public for us to read before the world, or just in the DMs. My friends have talked to me out and about, telling me they listen, and here's what I like, and here's what gets me, and I'm like, okay, I just hear it all, and I'm like, heard that, and I just bounce it back off of you. But I know, like, I believe in what we're doing right now, so
Nice.
I do welcome all of the feedback as well, especially if there's something that we just have not touched on yet.
And there's some things I would like to do a little differently this year, and it'll all evolve, right?
Sure.
I feel like I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn to be a better speaker. I'm trying to learn to complete my sentences because in my mind it makes sense, but sometimes I'll just cut it off and you know what I'm talking about. But like if you're actually listening, you're kind of like, why did he just not even complete that sentence? Or the ahs and the likes, and it's just all stuff you learn as we go. I feel like our quality of the videos has gotten better since if you go all the way back from the first episode, everything has gotten better.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about the audio.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of production time. It seems like a lot to me. I just show up to talk to you.
Yeah. That's okay, buddy. I will say this, we are filming this on the last date of 2023.
Yeah.
12/31/2023.
Yep.
So
Good morning, goodbye.
it's been a cool ride. I've learned a lot this year. And but before we get into that, we talked about, and I want to follow up in case anybody else was curious. We talked about what you wanted for Christmas. So did you get everything you wanted for Christmas, Mod, or what?
I did, and more than I deserve, I'm sure.
Everything that you bought yourself for Christmas?
All the best deals are around the holidays. Oh no, I was rewarded handsomely for being a member of my own family. Oh, my kid was spoiled. I loved her reactions to things. And I was really happy with the gifts that I was able to give my wife and my daughter collectively. Those things were pretty fun for me to like. It all came together at the last minute, right?
Yeah.
Been busy. I didn't even really make a lot of time for it. I hate that I sound like a broken record with people right now. Like, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy. I just there's things go in and out of my head all day long where I'm like, okay, the important things are, work, school, my kid, my wife. So I have a small center of focus, and so I got all that stuff under control. And then a lot of other things I'd be forgetting.
Yeah.
But like literally, I'll tell people, oh my God, I'm sorry I didn't get a hold of you earlier. I need to ask a favor of you on such short notice. But Christmas did come together at the last minute. Very nice.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with things. My wife, I got her some concert tickets. For her and I to go to a concert.
Yeah.
And then I was maybe hoping for some, but, she wouldn't pull the trigger on any concerts probably without a conversation with me. So I sat her down and I said, so we need to talk about another concert that we don't have tickets for yet. And I'm not going to be able to wait to know.
For Christmas. Yeah.
So I said to her, I will die of anxiety if I don't know that I have these concert tickets before long.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the deadline.
Right.
And so a couple hours later, I'm looking at my email and I see I got one for my wife, and that's pretty rare. I open it up. It says "Happy Birthday," and it's the It's the Sonic Temple.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So bless my wife. She not only treated me very well for Christmas, but she's also already treated me to my birthday in 2024.
Yeah, there you go. Don't be expecting anything else come May. I'll tell you that, buddy.
No, just like the card. Remember back in December?
Yeah. Well, that is right in May, isn't it? That Sonic Temple.
Yeah, it is. It is like 2 weeks after my birthday, so it's perfect. It's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Good times.
Yeah, same with the comments that I made when we were talking about the Christmas gifts. All I wanted was a sleep token shirt. I got 2.
Nice.
I got an ice bath, and I got a couple other things that were unexpected, but a couple hard drives. And then I bought myself, I want to say myself, but not really myself. I bought some things for the podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Got us some merch, got us some stuff.
Yes,
so
I'm excited about that too.
Going into 2024, we're doing our first kind of live event at the Heart on Your Sleeve Fest. That'll be one of our first. So I just want to be prepared and have things there. So if people want to grab them and support, the podcast, I want to make sure we're prepared and ready to go for that. So yeah, it was great, fruitful. The kids liked their stuff. The wife really liked her stuff. So it all came together.
Yeah,
we got that new fridge I was telling you about. So that kind of worked out.
We need stuff like that. We need to take a beat and say, okay, enough of us, and let's get stuff for the house, because that's a long time coming too. But on the subject of Christmas, man, I think we all celebrate it for different reasons. But the most basic one is just like family, love, and it's no pressure to give gifts. I think it's just presence in the room and engagement with one another that matters the most. And we got that in too, man. We've been big chilling at my house. So and I know you the same pretty much. Like
I got to see all my family. We got to spend it. I got to see all my brother's kids, which sometimes I don't get to see them.
Right.
And of course, they're jumping and wrestling with me. I'm exhausted by the time I'm leaving, but I just that time you won't get back. They want to jump on Uncle Jay and wrestle with you and throw the little fake snowballs, and we're doing the whole thing. So it was a lot of fun to be able to spend time with family. And you're right, that's what it's about, really. And that's kind of what we said before. But I was just curious because I know you had a list going, so I was just wondering what we wanted to make sure we let the audience, if they were curious, know. I was personally curious. So
I had a good Christmas, and quite frankly, on that thought, I've had a good year. No matter what people say, I see a lot of this in social media and stuff in the algorithm, and people, oh, I can't wait to get on to 2024. 2023 sucked, and I'm just not going to do that every single year, because then I'm going to have like 20 or 40 of those years where I look back and I'm like, oh, every year sucked, and I look forward to every year, and that year sucked. It's just your attitude sucks.
You're absolutely right. If you didn't change anything this year to make it better, like what thinks you just because the clock changes at midnight to a 2024, what makes you think that next year's going to be better? Right. It's not the year, it's you.
No, definitely.
It's the guy in the mirror. It's not the date on the calendar, right?
And with that in mind, I've made big changes that I see, paying dividends in my daily activities. So, in that regard, 2023 was a good year for me. Definitely setbacks, definitely things I would do better. I think that's going to be any year, but my attitude about it is like, it was a good year. I did a lot of things. I'm happy with where I'm at and where I'm going. So I think that should be people's attitude. Even if the year did kind of suck, shitty things happen. Yeah. Like, just got to face it down and, like, own it and move forward. And that's my attitude going into 2024 as well. Like, hopefully I don't get steamrolled by life. Like, life comes at you fast and heavy sometimes. But I think just having a better attitude about things will be the key to 2024 as it was for 2023. So.
And we've talked about this before, and we could go all day in on the, self-help side of things, but everybody's looking for that ultimate happiness, like what's going to make me happy. Well, the first thing you have to understand that life is waves, right? It's always a roller coaster. It's always doing this. So the sooner you realize that,
right,
the easier things will be.
Yeah, just
because there's going to be times when not everything's great.
Yeah,
I think everybody's like depressed and unhappy because they always think that they're just waiting until they get up here and they just stay up here forever. And that's just not how life works.
No, it never
does not work that
never
way.
Stays
it
out like
will
that.
never. So the sooner you realize that, that's already one step to your happiness.
Yeah.
And then like the second thing is just do what makes you happy. Pay attention to the things that make you happy. Disregard all the things that are bringing negativity and toxic and unhappiness into your life. Once you start cutting that stuff out, then you're on your road to success when it comes to being happy.
Yeah,
so,
especially other people's opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them slide off your back, man, like a duck in water. I mean, I like my music. That's what brings me happiness.
Yeah.
It's Sunday. I'm here to worship.
That's why we do this.
It is morning, and we are ready to talk metal. I think that's one of the biggest things for me this year is I put music where it belonged for me. Like, I listened to it intentfully, like with a lot of intention. Wherever I went, I just selected music that I actually wanted to hear. And also with this podcast, like jumping on it and saying, yeah, let's do it. Like, just, we're never going to have it perfect until we just do it.
Yep.
So hopping on board with that, and then hearing all of the new music that you've introduced me to with all these, local artists that are coming to you and saying, hey man, I got some music, let's listen to it, So that's been another rewarding part of 2023, is just the adventure that we decided to go on here and discover more music, really, because, we need more of that. We need more avenues to discovery for music, new music, and new fans to discover good old music as well.
Yeah,
and that's what we're here for.
And I think we've done that. I've got some comments, some feedback. Hey, you've turned me on to these cool bands. You guys are doing a great job. And like I said, we don't do it for that. But like, if you got something out of the podcast, we really appreciate that. Before we jump into more on the podcast, just in this 2023 wrap-up episode, so this is going to be a little different for our listeners, just because we're going to kind of just talk about some things for a little bit, and then show our gratitude for this podcast and what it's done for us and the people. Before we get into more detailed scope of that, do you have anything 2024 that you want to do differently, or are you just going to keep being on your path? You got some New Year's resolutions? You got some things you want to see differently in 2024?
I just started to change some routines at the end of the year here that I want to just follow up on. And I have the weirdest pockets of downtime in and out of my day that I never know what I can focus my time on, because it's just small, like pocket change type, little bits of time here and at 30 minutes here, maybe even a full hour. I'm mostly just very mindful of my kid, like in and around in my day. Like, I'll work or go to school, but I'll watch the kid. I think I can multitask better. Like, I think I can literally sit beside the kid with my laptop open and do work, like on the laptop. Yeah. So I think a little bit more focus on tasks that I can actually get done, instead of saying, oh, I need this huge 3-day window to do something. I think I can like manage my time a little bit better. That's the big thing for me for 2024. And musically speaking, I would like to know that there's a drummer out there. If I don't find a drummer that wants to work on the project that I have in mind, the Alice in Chains tribute band, then I will move forward in some original capacity, because I have like a half a dozen or more instruments just sitting off to my left every day in my office, and they just kind of taunt me at this point. Yeah. I got a lot on my plate. I want to finish school 2024, and then, but in my mind, I'm writing a composition right now. New music pooled in with old music. Collaborating with you is something that, if time permits, I would love to do. I know you're a busy man, so that's just something that I just think about. I entertain the notion of it. But 2024, more music, more cooking. Nice. And, just better focus on how to manage my time. I think I can do a little bit better in that area.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes I'll do that too, where I'm just like, oh, I need to get this huge project done. But like, I feel like it's like, if you got an extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes, doing that every day is going to be more helpful than worrying about the 4-hour block that you may never get to be able to be. And I know it's hard, because sometimes it's like focused work too. Like, you got to get this focus work in. But that's where I guess it's just up to you to turn on that focus and then turn it back off when necessary, So I get that. For me, as far as 2024 goes, just keep doing what I've been doing. This year, I'm stronger than I've ever been, lifted more. I'm going to be a lot more tight on my diet. I'm going to give up sugar. So I'm throwing that on this podcast right now. Yeah. That's my vice, is sugar, pop, those kind of things. But I'm throwing them out the window. I'm going to see what I can do as far as, my longevity in this world. And sugar is one that's just, it's a destroyer, man. It's a tough one. And then other than that, just get better at the podcast. Do as much music as I can do. I know Iron Sharpens, we got some cool tunes in the works. I would love to collab on something with you. I know we've thrown some ideas back and forth, so by the end of 2024, I'd like to have something with all these ideas that we constantly throw out, something more along those lines. I think we'll find the players in the mix as we go. And I'm real excited for 2024 as far as the pod goes, because like I said, just getting better on the pod. We got some cool guests coming up. We got some concerts coming up. I know that I'll be going to. I'm sure you'll be going to.
Yes.
But as far as like our first like kind of live event, and I'd like to do a few more of those this year.
Yes.
And then just keep moving things forward. I think I need to make more connections online with people, more personal connections, in order not just to promote the podcast, but I spend a lot of time wasted online scrolling through stuff where I could be using that time as targeted conversations to build relationships with people, to be able to like actually make a meaningful connection instead of just scrolling aimlessly at dumb shit. So that's one thing I like to get out of my life, is just some of that time wasted.
Yeah.
Like, you know, make it more, the word I'm looking for is purposeful.
There you go.
Social media usage.
Yeah.
How about that?
Oh man, I waste so much time on social media. I scratch my head, and those are the pockets of time I'm talking about. I'm literally like doom scrolling social media, just kind of kids playing their game or watching their show, and I just like to be present and available for any reason, and you know, pay attention to the dog too, and I'll just doom scroll like so much. It's just it's embarrassing, really. I mean, I mean. I'm like, I could be doing something more productive. I guess I could be, you know, like writing something right now. And so that's the whole goal, like just to start shifting that time usage, like as you say, like, and you might be trying to do something productive, but it just feels like you're kind of spinning your wheels in the mud, you know? Sometimes I'm looking for inspiration, or I'm just looking for something to take my mind off of things, you know, but there's a lot of time in a day. And there's a lot more time in a day. I can doom scroll and be productive. You know, how about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I just need to rest. I just need to rest. I need to rest. I know John Roan is shaking his head right now. Wherever he's at, John just started lifting weights because he got really irritated right now. But yeah, that's something I would like to do too, is mind my diet a little bit better and maybe even work out. But yeah, there's a lot of time in a day, man, for all of that.
Yeah, you just got to make the time. Like if you wrote down all the time that you used throughout the week, you know, purposefully, that you realize how much time there is. So when people are like, I don't have time, it's like, no, you do. You just don't know how to use it correctly. For me, I've been playing my guitar a shit ton, like every single day, trying to learn new things, go over exercises. So that's another thing. By the end of 2024, I just want to see how good I can actually be with focused practice, like metronome practice with actual. I've even changed the way I hold my pick now to get more precise, which kind of sucks because once you've done something for so long, it's hard to go back and like relearn that, you know, unlearn it, basically, So I'm kind of in this like weird conundrum right now where it's like things are awkward because I'm trying to play a completely different way, but I just know once I kind of get over that hump, it's going to pay off because I'll be a lot more precise with my picking and you know, my fret hand and stuff. So. You know, that's one thing I'd like to see. And that's another thing. Some people stop doing that, right?
Yep.
Because they feel like they've either plateaued or they just can't get any better. And I just feel like I can get better.
Sure.
I've just never taken the time to actually do that. You know what I mean? I know there's been people on the podcast and they're like, you're a good guitar player and stuff like that. And like goes the same way. I don't do it so people say you're a good guitar player. You know, it's cool that people recognize that because I have put in a lot of work throughout the years, but I think I can be that much better. And I just think it's a never-ending pursuit to be better, you know? And it's just spending that time. It's the same thing. Like if you just sat down every day and you're like, oh, I need an hour to practice. Well, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I can throw 15 minutes on some purposeful metronome practice, it might turn into 25. It might turn into 35, right?
Right.
But at least I started with that. I got 10 minutes. I'm watching the tube, hanging out with the fam, kids in the shower or something, you know, getting ready for bed. No one else is doing everything. My stuff's all ready for work or whatever. Yeah. I'm picking up the guitar and I'm playing, you know.
Yeah. I sneak downstairs and I get a little bit in, just the same. I like wait for everybody to kind of settle into something. Oh, she's reading. She's on the game. I just fade into the bushes, just like Homer. Just fade back. Yep. And then I emerge in the basement and there's a bass in my hand. Now, to that end, I could be practicing other things to enhance my craft. I just kind of stay on, you know, and it's not like I'm accepting some plateau or anything. I just haven't been pushing the ceiling any higher currently, but I think that's on the menu. Yeah. I think it's back on the menu. It just depends. Like, my focus, again, is on songwriting more than anything. And I know that my chops could improve on bass and guitar. Like, I could definitely, like, just lock in and play more, get better, get cleaner. My focus would still be going forward, songwriting first, and then, you know, it's not going to hurt to get more technical, you know, and has just more ability, more skill. I don't ever look at my playing and think I need to be a virtuoso of sorts, you know, but then I think, oh, but it would be nice to pull off that nasty lick, you know, like in the middle of my riff, and that in and of itself would take a bit of work just to be able to pull some of those licks off, you know. So there's a fine balance there between, you know, like just wanting to play and write good songs, but also like be at the skill, you know, floor at least that you want to comfortably be at to play the material that you want to write and play. So that's definitely on the menu for 2024. A little bit more playing time set aside for that as well. You know, get a routine of it in the morning or in the evening. Yeah.
Well, I like that. When we'll see on 12/31/2024 how far we've come with all of these things. So it's nice just to put them out there in the world.
Yes.
Like I said, I know this episode is a little different for you guys. We're kind of getting into some personal stuff, but this is just a wrap up of 2023. Personal level podcast. Like, you listen to us, like you've gotten to know us. You've gotten to know kind of what we like. You heard me shit on deathcore vocalists for the last 4 months. You know, stuff like that. So, you know, our first episode was August 29th. That was just our intro. We talked about Metal Maniacs, right?
It feels like forever ago.
It doesn't. Well,
for me, it feels like forever ago.
It does. I didn't mean to say it doesn't. It does. But you also got to remember that's when our first episode dropped. I think we were working on the podcast several weeks before that. So it has been like, we've been working on it for like, I don't know, 6+ months, I think, or
has it been that long since?
Maybe
before
not
it aired?
but it was about 4-6 weeks, I think, before we.
Yeah, it does.
Because we always film these out.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing in 2024. I'd like to have more relevant kind of podcasts that come out quicker, and I've done that throughout the year and learned how to do that for, you know, to help bands promote their stuff. But it'd almost be cool to do 2 a week. I can do that in capacity as far as like getting them done and edited, but it's hard to get them like to do all the reels and all the promotion and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to do that with 2 podcasts a week. You know, it's just that's where the thing comes in. Where it's kind of tough. So, you know, our first shout out to the boy Eliminator from our Iron Sharpens Iron. Thank you so much. He's like basically our first kind of guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
That one you weren't here for, but
the only one I missed.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll have him back on again, or Iron Sharpens. We'll have all of the gang on this upcoming year, especially when we're talking about the new album. So, you know, we've done some different topic episodes, but shout out to Eliminator. Shout out to Jeremy from Pain Divine and the boys from Pain Divine for coming through and showing their awesome new record. So if you guys haven't checked that out, go make sure you go check out that Pain Divine EP.
Yeah, that was a good one. I enjoyed sitting here listening to it with those guys and just kicking it with them in general. But as I recall, every single one on that was a slapper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. I enjoyed that one thoroughly.
Yeah. Much love to Jeremy and Pain Divine. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
If He Dies came on the pod, so that was super cool for their return. And then to go to the show, and then I filmed the show. That just came out. Just got done with that. Just released that. So like there was some, there were some things there that kind of suck when you're trying to do a multi-camera angle thing by yourself. It's not that easy, especially in that particular venue, because there's no way to really set the cameras up. There's a lot of things I've learned from just that experience, but like I found a good angle. There was people standing in front of the camera on one of my perfect like just shots, right? So then I moved it up to the stairs a little bit, and then like during the shot, you see some girl come by and she like fucking kicks the camera and it moves it like this, and then so like Tommy's halfway out of the cut. I'm like, oh, you people! Like it made me not like people. That I'm just like, can't you see there's fucking something happening here? But that. It is what it is. It still came out pretty damn awesome. You know, I like I said, I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
So, Addison, big shout out to Analog Time Machine. That's the homie right there. We actually spent a lot of time. He did the audio out for the If He Dies show, and we got to spend a lot of time at that show together, hanging out and talking to that. So, big shout out to Addison, Tiny Tree, and Analog Time Machine. If you guys need something recorded, go hit up my boy. Super badass dude. And, yeah. Shout out to Addison.
Super tech homie. He knows what he's doing.
We did No Susception. So I got to play a show with those guys.
Okay.
It was in my mind when I played with those guys. I was like, I need to have these guys on the podcast because they're badass.
Yes.
And they came through. So shout out to those guys for coming through. And
yeah, they dropped a new album, or are we calling it an EP?
It was like an EP. Yeah.
And I got to say, so super sick. Thank you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. That one really in my wheelhouse in terms of like what I'm looking for out of like death metal, and they were bold enough to just call it straight death metal. They were like, yep, it's death metal. They were like, it's not this, that, or the other thing. It's death metal, and it was really progressive and technical and melodic, and I think that's a band who I can see just in my mind next level. I don't know what their circumstances are personally in their lives that would enable them to do that, but I'd put them on a tour immediately with any big band right now. I would send them all over the nation. Go, do your thing. You guys are great.
Yeah.
So I love that band.
Great band. Dylan's super cool ass dude.
Yeah.
Really like him
really
a
down
lot.
to earth.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
They dropped a video for that, so if you guys haven't checked that out, go check that out. They also just dropped like a guitar playthrough as well, so go check out No Susception. Super cool dudes. Badass band. And then Go to Kira came through. That was a fun episode.
Those guys were fun as well, man.
Super cool dudes as well. And that was cool because, you know, we played at that same show, we played with those guys, right? And they kind of played first. I didn't, you know how shows go. It's you can't get to really know somebody at a show unless you played 10 shows with them, right?
Yeah.
You know, like or a party or something, and you're hanging out with the guys all the time. That's so having those guys come through and getting to know those guys, them blessing us with letting us listen to their EP for free, and you know, putting on this podcast and having faith in us and our audience that you know, they would get some plays and be able to get a little bump for their EP. I think it worked out well too, just because the numbers were really good on the episode. Awesome dudes as well.
Yes.
Super cool, just throwing ideas around and feedback, and interesting the way they did it. So go check out the Go to Kira Guttural EP, because super gonna support those guys all the way through and through.
Those guys were super cool to have on and meet, and you know, talk about songwriting and gear. Definitely learned some things personally during that episode. I want to circle back to that and listen to it myself, because some of the gear talk that took place in that. As a bassist, I want to circle back and listen to that one. But yeah, another great band.
Yeah.
You know, another great group of people to meet.
Yeah.
Which otherwise wouldn't have happened. You know, and I definitely love the shout out their name, Go to Kira. One more time. I just love it. I love the name, and the music was also really cool, man. I super appreciate those guys and what they're doing, and I can't wait to see them live. From what I've read from some of the comments with respect to that episode, like, you know, they throw down live.
Yeah.
They just throw down live.
Yeah, they do.
And that's one of the things that I like. You know, I want to go and see a band like perform and play well. I want it to sound like what it's supposed to sound like, but I'm always bored to tears if they're going to be gargoyles or bird baths.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, I would think that if you're going to write this kind of music, that it would move you in some kind of way, right? So Go to Kira sounds like one that I want to get out there and see how they move to their music. It sounds like they throw the fuck down, and I'm looking forward to that one. So
yeah,
you know, 2024 concerts, please, more local shows. I'm counting on people telling me, hey, this is going on at this venue, because I buy the big national act tickets, you know, but I can only afford so many of them.
Right.
You know, and then when it comes to these shows, it's like I want to get out and support those bands too, and buy their merch, you know, and just,
for sure,
and just see what they're doing. So yeah,
and you know, there's some more things popping up around town, but yeah, I'd like to get out to some more local shows too, just to make our faces seen among the local scene. You know, not just, hey, I'm just playing the show, so this is why I'm here for this, that, the other thing. Also hand out some of these bad beasts right here. You know, check out the pod. You know, that shit. We'll get you on the pod.
Yeah,
you know,
hey,
so
put this in your pocket.
Yep, put it in your pocket.
Happy to see you.
Yeah, just don't throw it away. At least scan it before you throw it away. So, and then we had a guest host, John Roan, on the show, so that was cool having our first guest host. I think that works well, because we're able to have people on the show that are friends that also know about metal, but at the same time, like, you know, they're not really in an active band, so we're not necessarily interviewing them or anything, but it's just cool to have other people involved in the conversation. And he's our homie, so what can you say? You know, that was really awesome. And then you got for this month, we had our Zoom interview, one of the first ones we did with the homies in Drink Their Blood.
Oh yeah,
so that was a cool interview. Definitely like those guys, like their music. A little closer to home because two of those members are in same band that I'm in, so you know, that's interesting. But Drink Their Blood, that was cool. The Zoom interview, learned a lot from that, like going forward, because we're going to have some Zoom interviews coming up in January, February too.
Right.
So being able to kind of see what works and don't work. And then, you know, I don't know where we want to go with this. Do we want to say who's, because we've filmed 3 or 4 more episodes, right, with the other guests that just aren't going to come out. So like, we have one of those things. I mean, we got, fuck it, whatever. If you listen to this, this is what's happening. So we got Chantel with the Heart on Your Sleeve Fest. We did that interview. That's coming out here real soon.
Yep, she put in a lot of work into that.
So
that's
shout
a
out
good
to
episode.
Chantel Tongue Cutter for that fest. That's going to be a huge thing for us. the homies in Black Temple, that was a fucking adventure, you know, like that was cool to have Eric and Ray on the show, old time's sake. That one's coming out next week after you guys hear this, actually. That'll be our first interview of 2024. Nice. It did happen in 2023, but shout out to the Black Temple dudes for coming through. Thank you for that. And then we had another guest host, Luke. That was cool to have him on. We talked 2000s metal. That was quite a long podcast, but I think there's a lot of information in that and something we could get used to. And then as far as going forward, we got a bunch of bands on the docket. So maybe we'll just hold off with all those bands that are because I don't really want to say who, but I'm really excited about this list of bands that I'm looking at in front of me, that all these bands. So when we started this podcast, I had a list. I still got the list going, right?
Right.
And it's a list of bands who I want to have on the podcast. Yeah. Right. And a lot of these bands that are coming on the podcast were some of the first ones that I wrote down.
Sure.
So it's working out. You know?
I'm excited, man. I expect that we'll get bigger and bigger names on here if we just keep working at it. And, you know, how many times are we going to talk to the local bands anyway? No, it's good. I'm kidding.
I mean, we'll always talk. Yeah, I mean, we'll always talk to local dudes. I mean, we're about our scene. You know what I mean? Like it's about our scene. But at the end of the day,
keep reaching.
Yep.
Yeah,
really. Come middle of 2024, end of 2024, we're going to be reaching further and further away from and. I want to keep a good balance, right?
Absolutely.
I want to have the homies on.
Yeah.
I want to have the local guys because it is for the scene.
Yeah.
But I also want to talk metal with the guys that are out there really hitting, the tours. And
here's my thought on it, too. These things are not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? And if we do what we set out to do here the right way, and with people like Chantel doing what she's doing and Jeremy, pursuing what he's got going on, we could build a whole thing here. We could be part of something here.
Yeah.
I think that Muskegon could really become more and more of a musical city and a place where people want to come to play, and they can count on fans coming out to shows. That's hopefully what's happening here. We're highlighting bands, we're highlighting shows, and we'll be highlighting producers and promoters and all of that along the way. And the more attention that we can draw here, get nationals to come here and have some of our locals open up for that. Having any hand in that idea is, I feel like I'm just flattering myself just at the notion of it. But I think that's the idea. That is the idea.
Yeah.
Like to not make those things mutually exclusive. Have the nationals, become aware of what we do here in Muskegon, besides them just stopping through here to play, understand that there's a scene here that we're trying to establish and get to flourish once again, and then this time permanently.
Yep.
I would think going forward with the way things are in the world, I want to establish some permanence in Muskegon as a musical culture going forward, a hard rock, heavy metal culture, if you will, please. All music is acceptable to me. I want it to be known here in Muskegon as a metal and a hard rock capital of the nation going forward. That's my goal. That's what I would hope to see happen.
I also think for us too, I would like to see us build into being able to go to these shows and get some media passes and shake hands with these guys and stuff. Like I see it going there as well. You know? So I'm just putting that out there because that's not necessarily everybody's going to come to Jay's basement, right? If you're playing. So
I mean,
Jay and Nick might have to pack some shit up and come to you guys and talk to you guys, right? Just to be a part of the show. And I'm totally okay with that. It's the same thing with the Zoom. I don't always want to do Zoom podcast, right? But if we have to do some Zoom podcasts, it's just the way of the world, and that's what we're going to have to do. Like, it's cool sitting down with the bros, and getting to know you and, being able to read body language and have the jokes and, because Zoom's a little different. But at the same time, we're just going to do what we can do to keep building this thing. But like I said, I'd like to see us get out to some more venues, talk to some of these bigger bands before they're on stage. They're just sitting around hanging out anyway, and most metal dudes are fucking cool, so it doesn't matter, It's,
and we know the best venues in town, and we know the best places to eat in town, so they should want to hang out with us.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So.
And we're huge fans of just about anything coming through. I can set aside a lot of things just to appreciate what a band is doing and what it takes to be in a band and do the work, across the board. Whatever style they're in. If they're on the road and they coming through to our town, I would love to make them feel at home, from getting off of the bus, the moment they step off the bus and they're in Muskegon, Michigan, West Michigan, anywhere in West Michigan for that matter. If I'm there, if it's a place that I hang out, I want to make these people feel welcome. All bands traveling through here. So that would be my goal too, actually, to kick it with them and make sure that they're being treated well.
And I do want to shout out, so we did And this episode performed a lot better than I thought it was, and that's why we were going to continue to do them. We did the reaction episode where we kind of reacted to some bands. So shout out to Glass God. They actually just came out with EP, so they support us. We support them. I would like to actually hear a little more. I tagged you in that because I think since you like that so much, it's kind of more up your alley or whatever. But super cool dudes. Crocophile, fucking slam masters, man. You guys are awesome. I've actually gotten to talk and know those guys a little more online too. So it's been cool to build a relationship with those guys. Their one guitar player, that dude is insanely badass too. Like, not that their band isn't insanely badass, you know. Discordant Meditation, which is kind of just more of a 2-piece band, so they're not really out there hustling doing stuff. But super cool band. See what other bands were on that? Oh. Astral Crown was on that.
Yep.
So, and then Final Confession, which we were supposed to play with tonight, but Adam got COVID. Get well, Adam. So I'm not playing a show tonight, but that's okay. Sit at home with the fam and have more time to podcast today. And, you know, it would have been cool to play the show tonight, the New Year's show, but also at the same time, it's like, well, whatever. We'll just gear up and be ready for next year and be able to play some of these new songs too. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, shout out to all the bands that we've got to mess with this year. Thank you very much. You know, is there anything else you want to say, Mon? We'll probably wrap this up. We just wanted a short little 2023 in review episode. I think it's necessary. We'll kick this out. We got 2 episodes coming out this upcoming week.
Okay.
We got our album of the years. It drops Tuesday and Thursday. We have the album of the year for us, and then we talked a whole bunch of other albums on Thursday.
Yep.
But this one will probably come out this week, so we'll probably have 3 pods coming out this week. This one's just, like I said, a short. Hey, thank you so much, guys. And
2023, rolling this thing out, it's been super fun. I listen to so much more music just because of the podcast. You're like, hey, you know, you tell me you might want to listen to this one. I'm going to be talking about it, so know what I'm going to be talking about, please. You know, I do the same thing to you. I'd be like, hey, I know you might have a time crunch, whatever, but I'm going to have to talk about this album. So please listen to it for me because I don't want you to be like blank on the subject when it's a really like an important, passionate album for me. Like Vexed, I was like, dude, I know it's last minute. Like you got to get this in a weight lift or something, please. Like listen to this Vexed album or, you know, Currents too. You're like, I got to make the time for that. And you did ultimately. And thank you for just even making the time for that. Because that was, you know, those are important albums to me. And I know it fairly so. I think, you know, for the sake of the podcast, even in the conversation, you'd say, Nick, you know, you need to consider listening to a few of these albums that I've listened to so that we got something to talk about. So I've listened to a lot more music, and I hope I can inspire people to do that themselves and further that, like, be creative. Be more creative.
Yeah.
If you got a creative bone in your body, you know, exercise it more as I intend to. And if you feel like you're putting something off, don't let this podcast kind of be an example of, you know, it's never going to happen until you just do it day one. You start it somewhere. Like, yeah, you're probably right. Watch the first episode and camera angles and whatever we were talking about, however we were delivering it versus, you know, where we're at currently. And then it's just a thing for me where I just show up and have a conversation with you. We talk about what we're going to talk about, and then we arrive and deliver. And, you know, 2023 has been a great year for this podcast, just rolling out, meeting new bands. I'm going to continue to hopefully get out to shows. It's hard to make that kind of time right now. But, God, I think I can, with enough notice, like, say, yep, I can do that one, or I can do that one too. So hopefully more shows for me in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually kicking it with these bands, like, you know, out where they're doing the thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea. I'd love to be able to circle back to all of this in a year and say, yeah, I met you guys in the basement, and then I finally got out to the show and saw it happen and pop off live, and, you know, it was all that, you know, and I'm looking forward to meeting these people in their environment. So that'll be fun too.
Hell yeah. Well, with that being said, I don't have much more to say, but thank everyone who's supported the podcast, who's came on the podcast. Thank to all the bands out there. They're out there grinding. They're doing their thing. You know, I have nothing but love and respect for that, and that's what we're here to do, is try to put that on. No gatekeeping here. There's none of that anymore. We're just trying to help elevate everybody. All rising tides raise all ships, right? So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
Yep.
You know?
I'm with it.
So, yeah, deeply, deeply thank you. Thanks for a great 2023, and much love to you guys. Keep it metal.
Yeah, keep it metal. See you.
Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.